Time to talk some Florida State football with the commitment from Jaden O'Neal, the quarterback commit out of Oklahoma. Let's talk Noles.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Seminoles. I am your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football writer and recruiting analyst. Thank you for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. We're going to be discussing all things Florida State recruiting. Have a little interview with Jaden O'Neal, the quarterback out of Mustang, Oklahoma. His entire process has been a very long one, and I've gotten to know him over the last year or so and had a chance to meet him recently at Rivals 5-Star. So we're going to be talking all about his recruitment, what's next for Florida State, and let's bring on Jaden right now, get him going here on the show. Jaden, how you doing, my friend?
Doing pretty well, sir. Blessed to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. First off, unless something drastically changed in a week and a half or so, you're about 6'3", 215, give or take. Obviously, you were a kid that was a big, strong guy coming up, and you've always played quarterback, correct? Just to be clear, that's always been your spot. You knew that's what you were going to do?
Yeah, I mean, of course, Little League, like when I first started, I was just trying to figure out, what I wanted to do. 5 or 6 years old. So at first I was like a tight end or like a DN at first, but then, once it switched to 8U, like 2 years later, I kind of just took off from there playing quarterback.
It's been a process. I mean, quarterback's, in my opinion, the hardest position in sport. It's so much mental, and I don't think a lot of people realize. You always see people like NFL fans complaining about quarterbacks and stuff, but explain to somebody just for the fun here, I'm just throwing this in, what it's like preparing as a quarterback compared to like some of your buddies at Mustang or anywhere else you've played, how much different it is to know like where everybody's at on the field. Like you got to know what the backside corner is doing. You got to understand what your guy's going to do every route. Try to explain that for some people.
For sure. The level of the preparation is definitely different from all sports. The ability to know what, 20 other guys are doing because there's 21 guys on the field is definitely a skill of his own to kind of, throughout the week, the beginning of the week, all you're trying to do is just, watch as much film as you can and to be able to kind of envision or kind of replicate, what the opposite team will be doing. And then now you have time by yourself to just be able to kind of just envision, what the team may do come game day. And then, that's just like more so like the mental aspect. So the physical aspect, I would probably say just, learn how to, throw throws that may be uncomfortable that you kind of prepare yourself for. Come Friday night, and then just willing to be able to, prepare yourself physically, whether it be like, diet, working out, or just keeping yourself in shape. Because a lot of guys tend to get a little bit lazy, come season time.
That is very true. The difference between guys that are good and keep going up the ladder is what they do off the field. Diet, their ability to rehabilitate with actual sleep, not going out late, all that stuff. If you're a quarterback doing that, it doesn't normally end well. All right, here's the big question just in general. Obviously, you were originally committed to Oklahoma. I remember talking to you about this time last year at Future 50, and you'd already committed to the Sooners. And you said you just felt comfortable there and all that. But you told me FSU was real high on your board then, too. They were number 2 or 3, and OU won out originally. Why Florida State the second round? They've had a coaching change at the offensive coordinator position and all that. Why FSU?
Just the ability for them to maintain like the relationship ever since I was young, and just seeing like the consistent behavior shown by the coaches, even with the minute, coaches changes. I think it was just something that a big factor that kind of played towards my family and I, and to be able to, notice that they really didn't change up on me or as far as just like my view set on the field and off the field, and them seeing like the value that I bring on and off the field was definitely something special. So just seeing that, just kind of that response by Florida State, after seeing me, decommit and having those, more serious and deeper level, conversations were just some of those factors and the values that I brought was kind of, tailored towards my decision to Florida State.
Let's talk a little bit about Norvell and especially Gus Malzahn, the new OC. I know Gus. I covered UCF when he was there. He's a good guy. What's it like communicating with him, and what's he like as a person when you have the opportunity to speak with Gus?
For sure. Being able to talk with Coach Norvell is definitely, very like energetic. He's like even like when I was on the visit. He's super energetic, screaming in and out of the walls, being able to kind of just, insert himself in certain, positions and be able to kind of just be the alpha and like the leader. That was just more so like on a visit. And then when we had time, just as a family and like, what was it like, the recruits, we were at the bowling alley and we were able to kind of just hang out, in a more relaxed state and just seeing, Coach Norvell, he's actually a really good bowler for some who don't know, but, he's just a chill guy, fun to be around, very real and authentic. It's not just an act that he, puts on and puts on. Puts on and puts off. So, seeing him on and off the field, acting the same exact way, it definitely brings you a different level of confidence to know that your coach will never change up on you. So that's kind of like, how he is on and off the field.
What about Gus? Did anything about him surprise you, or like he's been around college football a long time? Were you surprised by him at all or no?
I was more so surprised about his accolades and like, the people that he's been able to develop. As far as his personality, yeah, I never met him. So, his personality was like, brand new and fresh to me. I heard like all the stories, but, for the stories to match up and, everything be able to, to put on pen and paper and be able to display towards me and be able to, kind of, tell me how this might, like how my path may go and how I might be, developing his system. It's definitely like, reassuring because, you get those narratives, sent out by about Coach Gus. So that was definitely, good to like meet him and kind of see what kind of man he is.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He was always nice to us when I covered him. So good for him for getting another opportunity at Florida State. As for the offense itself, what was the biggest selling point for you to play within Gus's scheme? Because you could run it 100 different ways, but what was your biggest selling point just looking at the offense itself?
Yeah, they definitely told me that I was able to like, for my skill set to be able to throw the ball down the field, how in their offense, how they run that is, something that they kind of emphasized, and that's something important in offense, being able to throw the vertical ball. And, now the system that I'm running in my high school is a vertical option. So, Coach Gus runs that. He runs the RPO, which we also run in high school. So the transition from high school to college is definitely going to be a smoother transition. So those are just some of the key points, in its offense and things that I'm running now that are similar.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because Gus has always talked about, I want to run power football and I want to use play action off of that to throw the ball down the field. He's never really changed from that. When he was at Auburn, obviously had Cam Newton at one point. That's a cheat code. But at the same time, every quarterback that he's had that's been successful in some way, shape, or form has been able to throw the ball down the field. This class has 5 wide receivers in it. And I've followed the state of Florida for a long time and the Georgia, et cetera. Like, this is a ridiculous amount of speed that they have coming in. You've played with Devin a little bit because I was at 5-star with you and those guys. But have you watched film of some of these kids, Ephraim White, Darren Williams, all these guys, or have you just you're just going to wait for them to get on campus? Have you watched any of those guys?
I haven't really watched, some of the film because I've been kind of just focusing on my film. But, with the guys that I do have a better relationship with, like Devin, being able to see him, live in action was definitely, a sight to see. Just his route running ability, his abilities to change, direction, and his speed is, definitely something I'm really looking forward to. And, with some of the other guys, I may, as a process of me, going from high school to college, I may actually, really start sitting down because in this like recruiting thing, you never know, like at this point, like, kids may flip, come signing day to a different school. So I kind of just make sure I'm focusing on it now and, what we have now and just staying in the present. So, but I'm just trying to just make sure I maintain relationships with all of them. But as you know, in this game, everything's so fluid. So, but, come, I don't know, December or January, I might, actually reel in and start focusing on like their skill sets.
So you're enrolling early, I would assume. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. When we come back here with Jaden O'Neal, we're going to talk more Noles, what he needs to work on, the things he likes best about his game. That is next here on Locked on Seminoles. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already in on the action, so why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are out getting sunburn on the beach. For me, it's just looking at all the different baseball games and the runs that are going on, the player props, guys like Aaron Judge, having some fun with that. that is where I'm at, but you can do it in a lot of different ways. You do parlays and everything else. And if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. Open the FanDuel app or go to FanDuel.com to get started. Thank you once again for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day. I am joined by Jaden O'Neal, quarterback out of Mustang, Oklahoma, committed to the Florida State Seminoles. Jaden, I think that the best thing to do right now is just let you define your own game. I've seen you live 3-4 times, so camp, 7-on-7, everything else. Define for people what you do best on the field, and then afterwards what you think you need to work on the most moving forward.
Man, my skill set on the field, I feel like, one thing that's definitely, noticed is like my arm talent, my ability to make, those difficult and, thread the needle type throws, my accuracy, my ability to, change the trajectory and different arm angles. I feel like my ability, my pocket presence is something that, kind of also goes unnoticed. My ability to kind of like, be able to sense the pressure is definitely a skill set I probably don't talk about enough about, but I just let the film talk. And then lastly, man, like, I feel like people don't really know I can like move, my ability to like, I'm not the quickest guy in the world because I'm not gonna hold you. Like, my ability to move in the pocket is more so subtle movements and not a bunch of quick movements. But as far as like my top end speed, I feel like, that kind of does go unnoticed. But, this offseason I've been working on my speed, just working on just constantly just getting faster, just working on my top end speed, just being more explosive. So, those are like some of the skill sets I feel like I'm stronger in, when it comes out on the field.
What do you think, besides just running playbook and all the schematics and stuff, what do you think you need to work on the most physically between now and say like the end of your first year at Florida State? What's the biggest thing you want to hit?
Like as far as just fitness wise, or just like more so just like quarterback?
Well, like whether it's something with like the hardest throw for you, you're right-handed, is rolling left
For
and
sure.
putting it on a dime. Whether it's that or there's something else. Everybody has something that just bugs them that they want to do better. Whatever
Gotcha.
it is for you.
As far as just like, like rolling to the left, I feel like I'm really good at throwing anything going towards the sideline. But I feel like kind of like throwing let's say like a big post coming from right to left. Maybe I need to work on, depending on, where like, whether the pressure will be either in my face or kind of flowing towards me. I feel like just being able to hang in there and be able to deliver that ball is something I need to work on. My ability to roll out and sometimes see the run. I feel like I need to sometimes just see the run because I'm always looking downfield trying to, put the ball in my guy's hands. So I feel like that's something I need to work on. Just sometimes just being able to sense the run if it's there, because sometimes I like to hold on to the ball and try to put the ball in my wide receiver's hands. And another thing physically, maybe I've leaned out like crazy like this offseason. So
you looked different when I saw you at Rivals. Like you looked like you'd changed your body. That was noticeable.
Physically, I feel like just continue to just, get lean, just more leaned out, get, stronger in weight room. So just like the basic stuff. Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned like your running ability. You're very difficult to grade. You're a big kid, but I remember like when I was covering UCF, it's ironic. They'd just signed Castellanos. And like he is a freakazoid. Like he could play tailback at Florida State all day. It's not even debatable. Like they recruited him like that. So did Clemson and Georgia. So that's pretty self-explanatory. But you're a totally different quarterback, but can still move. I think the most important thing in today's game is quarterbacks not running for 20 yards, which Thomas and those guys will do. It's making the first guy miss, being able to keep your eyes down the field. Like NFL quarterbacks often suck at that. Not bad. Like they are terrible. Nobody likes getting hit. I get it. And those guys get bigger at every level you go up.
100%.
But you, like for your age, and you're going to get better at this with time. You're a little bit better at that than some other guys. Did you work with trainers like coming up in Cal? Like for those that don't know, Jaden grew up in the greater Los Angeles area. Like, did you work with a bunch of trainers? Or is that natural? Like you make the first guy miss, you slide, you try to keep your eyes down the field. Then obviously that guy's going to come back at you. You got to get rid of the ball. How did you develop that as a young guy?
For sure. Being young is kind of, playing quarterback and just having the natural throwing motion is something that I, always had, and kind of having that instinct to be able to kind of make a move or either escape the pocket or, be able to have that pocket presence. But I can't, just only give myself the credit. I got to give my trainer Ortiz Jenkins the credit. He's trained with me, ever since I was 10 years old. So we constantly just kind of, continue to just, add certain things to the tool bag, being able to kind of enhance, what I was already good at, and to be able to kind of just continue to work with him and just our relationship. He's able to train it and know how to, put me in the best position to be able to unlock this part of me, or just to be able to communicate and be able to know what, kind of ticks me, what I need to work on, or whatever little small minute thing as far as the mechanical thing goes. I feel like that's what he's, best and really good at.
What about the ability to run RPO and take off? How you mentioned earlier, I haven't seen your team's film. You guys are going to run some option stuff. Is it veer based? Is it one back? What are you going to run, one or two back? What are you guys going to run this year at Mustang?
We're going one back. So sometimes you'll see a lot of 11 personnel, one tight end and one running back.
So is it the basic hold it out, you're reading backside defensive end or whatever? If he dives, you take off. If he stays on the edge, you just hand the ball off. It's pretty straightforward, I would assume. Yes?
Sometimes, but sometimes we usually incorporate a pass with the RPO.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah, so we usually probably have like a let's say if it's a base defense and we know that we have an overhang backer, I'll kind of, as I'm transitioning through the handoff, just kind of reading off that overhang backer that's on the slot. So either the slot or I read inside out. So depending on what the defense shows, like if the whole place breaks down, I can either escape or take off depending on where the flow of traffic and pressure is coming from.
Yeah, if they got linebackers at the high school level, I know you don't have the same kind of personnel, but like at the high school level, if you have any kind of slot presence, those linebackers are going to get smoked. Those look passes, those little quick, it's like a slant, but like those little look passes and stuff, they kill guys. So yeah, if you're accurate with those, you can throw some short passes and get some big yards. As far as going to Florida State for games this year, what are your thoughts on that? Which games are you going to try to get to, if any?
For sure. The one that's like definitely in my mind is seeing like the Bama game, to open up with a team like that with a lot of history. I can't wait to see, how they, respond to that. And then definitely I want to hit the rivalry game. I want to see them, them against the Gators. So I feel like that's just going to be an environment, I can't wait to just, be a part of.
What about this season for you in general at Mustang? Like, I don't know much about your squad. I talked to your dad a little bit about that. Is like, do you guys have a bunch of players? You got a few guys. What do you have coming back this year? And how's that going to help you before you get to Tallahassee?
For sure. We did a lot of recruiting on the offensive side of the ball. We have a lot of pieces as far as like the wide receiver core. I feel like we have the best wide receiver core in Oklahoma. Just the mix and diverse, different kind of, wide receivers and different bodies. As far as the backfield, we just recruited a running back as well. So I know our backfield is looking really good. Line is solid as well. So, with everything, being able to gel and mesh together, I feel like, that's how we truly make a statement this year with Mustang.
Well, I mean, it's hard to explain this to people, but like playing big time high school football in Oklahoma, like Friday nights in Oklahoma, some of those towns, they're going to shut down. Like when you guys play, like
sure.
that helps in my opinion. And it's one of the things I know that a lot of recruiting analysts look at. Did you play against competition in high school that mattered? And did you play in environments where this ain't friendly? Like when you go on the road, you guys are going to get booed and all that stuff because you guys got talent. You're going for it. Like it's a big deal. I think that helps when you go to play like some 1A school. A lot of kids do this. And like if you played 1A football, even in Oklahoma, like, are you really gaining anything? No. So I'm glad that you're going somewhere where it means something. I think that will help your development. And I know a lot of my friends in the coaching community feel the same way. So, Jaden, thank you very much for coming on, man. I appreciate it. Good luck to you. And I'm glad I got to know you over the last year or so a little bit. And it was good to actually have like a long conversation with you the other day at Rivals 5-Star. Anything else you want to say to Florida State fans before you get ready for this season, man?
Like I've said before, just continue to, as just a hardworking young man. Just my ability to, not let adversity, kind of get the best of me. Like I always say, adversity is my best friend. So there's not going to be a lot of, shaking moments that you'll see me in. So I just want to thank y'all for embracing me. Thank you guys for having me on. And, I honestly do love like the Seminole fans. They definitely are crazy, and like a lot of people say, some of the best fans are like in the college town. So I'm just blessed to be able to, be on the platform in the program, which I'm at.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, Florida State fans, they are passionate. That place, when Doak gets rocking, man, that place is absolutely deafening. And I don't know how much of the new stuff you've seen or how much you really took a tour that they put some cash down
Oh, yeah.
for that stadium, man. That thing looks awesome. They put some pictures out and all that. I was like, holy cow. I went when they had all the cranes and stuff there, just walked into the stadium. I'm like, there's a long way to go. But that was like 6-8 months ago. Now it's totally different. So I'm really looking forward to see what it looks like when Bama comes to town. Well, Jaden, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you all for coming in to check out Locked On Seminoles. We will see you again tomorrow.
Thank you for having me.